So hopefully you enjoyed seeing how we could very easily build our first app. But this video is going to be all about installing things for the course that we'll need, in the next few videos, and then down the road. There's quite a few things, so I'm going to try and cover it all in this video. Hopefully it doesn't get too long. But you're definitely going to need all this stuff installed so that you don't get any issues rising down the road. And now, if you ever do have an issue in this course, definitely feel free to message me, either on Udemy, or you could email me or use my Twitter handle. But hopefully with this installation process here, hopefully everything will go clean and you won't really need that. Now, the first thing you're going to need is you're going to need a text editor to obviously, edit your code. I have Sublime Text, which is, looks like this, and it's pretty helpful. You got, some pretty colorful code in there. You can change the themes and stuff. Any text editor will do for this course. I happen to like Sublime. The link for it, if you just go to Google and look up Sublime Text, they give you a free version. In fact, that's the one that I'm using to download for OS X, Windows, or Linux. So just go ahead and download Sublime when you get a chance. You can use, like I said, any text editor. Atom, Visual Studio Code is supposed to be, pretty interesting. So get any text editor you want, but I prefer Sublime, and that's what I'll be using in this course. The next thing you're going to want to do is download Node.js. If you don't already have this on your computer because you're kind of new to programming maybe, you're definitely going to want to get it because not only is Node applicable to React Native, but it's applicable to everything in JavaScript, which is, I think, one of the best programming languages to learn right now. Node.js is Chrome's V8 JavaScript engine. Now notice that's not Google Chrome, that's Chrome. We'll talk a little bit more maybe about what that is another time. But Node.js is going to help you run all of the files that we'll need a little bit later in this course. And it's basically JavaScript on the back end, JavaScript for the server. Another thing you're going to want is this Yarn thing. So once you got Node.js installed, you're going to want to install Yarn. Yarn is similar to this other thing called Node Package Manager, which some of you might be familiar with, but if you're not, basically allows you to access open source JavaScript packages using your terminal. So you can get things pretty easy. You can just say npm install and then whatever you want basically. So it's a pretty helpful tool, which you're also going to need. You're also going to need to download npm. But for this course, some Expo users, including myself, a few weeks back when Node.js, the newest version came out, there were some issues with React Native and Expo when you were installing files. Certain files would kind of corrupt things. So to avoid any kind of issues like that, you're definitely going to want to get Yarn. I like using Yarn. I'll be using Yarn in this course, so go ahead and get this. If you don't quite know what it is, that's fine. Just install it. You'll see what I do with it later. And then the last and most important thing that you're going to need is Expo. So you're going to need to download the Expo XDE. I already have it on my system, so I'm not going to re-download it. But if you go to expo.io, you'll go to Expo's website, and you can even watch this little Expo Explained in 2 Minutes video. It might be a little helpful for you understanding how they do things. But you're definitely going to want to just go to Download Our Tools, and then at the bottom just select whether you're on Mac, Windows, or Linux. Just click on whichever one you have. And just start installing it. For the most part, everything on here is a pretty easy install. There's nothing difficult about it. It's just you click through the steps and then you hit install and it's fine at the end. Now, if you've ever programmed with React Native in the past, maybe you used React Native when it was in a little bit of an earlier version. I think some of the newer. I think we're on version 4.5 or 0.45 right now. Yeah, so this is a fairly new version. If you programmed on something like 0.33, I remember programming on React Native 0.33 back then, there were a lot more files you had to download. You had to have Xcode, you had to have Android Studio, you had to have all kinds of dependencies installed, and you had to make sure they were all perfect and installed perfectly and everything. Expo really does a good job in making sure you don't have to worry about a lot of that nonsense. So I think this is the future of React Native programming, and so for any of you guys taking this course right now, this is the cutting edge stuff in React Native. This is the way things are probably going to be moving in the future. And just a side note, I was going to mention it in the last video, but you're definitely going to want to get the Expo app for either your iOS device or your Android device. So it's an actual Expo mobile app. You're definitely going to want to get it. It's super useful. I'll explain why in the next couple videos, I'm sure. But go ahead and get that too. It's not that big of a download. And once you have everything installed that I just talked about in this video, you're ready to move on to the next few videos here, and we'll start building out our first real app.